When it comes to Northern Ireland, we treat it as a special case in so many ways. Is it time potentially that the EU just accepts that there may be a bit of leakage into the single market, but ultimately British food isn't poisonous? I don't ask for checks when I have a meal in France. Do we need to be a bit more grown up here?
I went to the border between Northern Ireland and the Republic a few years ago, and I met an absolutely marvellous man in a village called Red Lion, and he said to me, it doesn't matter what you do, things will go back and forth across the border regardless. He'd been running a shop that his grandmother had set up, and borders had come and gone, but things had gone across the border back and forth in different ways, one way or another, throughout that period. And I think that sort of good common sense approach is very refreshing.
Elsewhere in the UK, there were checks to be coming in this summer. Now, you've been passionately arguing in Cabinet against those checks. Those checks have been delayed. My question to you is, why do we need those checks at all? If we're to think that we'd happily have food on holiday in the European Union, do we need SPS checks from the EU at all?
My view is we want to get rid of them, minimise them at any rate, from the rest of the world. So this is stage one, and stage two is loosening checks on New Zealand and Australia and other countries that have very high standards that we recognise. Did you know that we inspect 5% of New Zealand apples? But there's no purpose in this. It's just sheer bureaucracy, and it adds costs to consumers. So we're working towards a single trade window that will make trade with everyone more efficient. And it seemed to me it was pretty silly to put up non-tariff barriers to the EU in the hope of taking them down again in 18 months' time.
So potentially these SPS checks have not been delayed. Potentially they'll never come in.
Or they'll be different. I mean, the idea that you needed a vet to go and look at a packet of cheese wrapped in cellophane, why were we thinking that was necessary? Or tin cans had to be inspected. What were we thinking about? What was this terrible danger that was inserting itself into a tin can?
Well,